Hi everyone, welcome to the ProKeel webinar. My name is Shashwat. I am one of the co-founders of ProKeel. We'll just take another 2-3 minutes to see if other people are joining, and then we'll quickly get started. So we'll give it another 2-3 minutes, and then we'll get started. All right. So I think we can get started, and maybe as people join in, they can tune into the conversation. So once again, everyone, thank you so much for joining. My name is Shashwat. I am one of the co-founders of ProKeel. We're very excited on starting this series on collections. We've been working with a lot of financial services companies, as part of solving challenges on the legal operations side for a lot of companies. And working with a lot of financial services companies, we've realized, come to this realization that a lot of these teams have been facing challenges, especially given the pandemic in the last year and a half, around the digital transformation for their collections processes. And we've been fortunate to work with some of the large banks and BFCs in the sector to help them in their digitization journey. And so there are a lot of learnings that are emerging from that, right? And what we want to do with this webinar series is to take our audience to have a discussion on what is in store for the collections function, and how is technology going to impact that entire function. We believe that it's an extremely important conversation in the context that this is an extremely important industry in India. So if you talk about lending as an industry in India, right, it is one of the most important industries that over the last 10 to 15 years has seen tremendous growth, right? We've seen so much happening in the industry. So if you look at the current stats, right, I mean, in India, total credit outstanding is about $2.5 trillion, right? And over the course of the last decade, this number has grown at about 10% CAGR. So what has happened as a consequence of this, that we have a vibrant industry, coming up in the financial services space. There's so many new entrants and so many new challenges that are coming up because of that as well, right? Now, while $2.5 trillion is total credit outstanding, looks like a big number. But if you actually do a global comparative, right, and see where India is, right, in this journey, we are still fairly nascent in this journey, right? So just to do comparison with slightly more evolved economies like the US and China, our credit to GDP ratio, right, a very important metric in the growth of a young economy, is still at about 97%, right? And the comparable number for the United States is about 165%. Even if you look at, the European Union, the numbers are greater than 150%. Japan has a much, much larger number, right? And the numbers are high for the growing economies in the Southeast Asia as well. So here, one of the key areas in which, as India grows, there is going to be a lot of growth is going to be in the lending industry, in the credit industry. And therefore, we feel that this is an extremely important conversation. We're potentially looking at $10 trillion in the total credit market, right, by the end of this decade. So this decade, we're probably going to grow from 2.4 trillion in outstanding credit to about 8 to 10 trillion dollars in outstanding credit. And as this grows, right, there is a lot of change that is going to happen in this industry. In fact, we've already seen a lot of change, right? If you talk about the changing landscape, there is growth in GDP, which is bringing more and more people to the banking sphere. India has seen crazy, mobile penetration, internet penetration. And because of that, banking and financial services is reaching to a large proportion of population, right? And one of the most important factors that I would say in the last decade that has really changed things in India has been the India Stack, right? I mean, which is the Aadhaar, UPI, the mobile penetration, Aadhaar, and the whole adoption of technology. And that is seeing a, crazy rise in fintechs and, just technology being adopted by both small and large companies in this industry. And recently, we've all heard about the account aggregator framework, which just went live last month, right? So India is set for a credit cycle, for a new credit cycle, a new boom in this industry. And there is going to be a lot of changes that follow, right? And we have a close watch again, and this started with, the COVID disruption last year when everything, started moving so fast. That we've been having this close watch on the credit, on the collection side of this problem. It started all with the IL&FS crisis, and there's been a steady rise in NPAs, right, over the last 3 or 4 years, and the problem is still persistent. Although there are signs that that we might just be coming out of this problem. There is a lot that has happened in this sphere, right, with the IBC, with all the new regulations and technology, right. So today we have, the webinar is planned around, collections, and, we have a special speaker, Mr. Vivek Guleria, who will be talking about his experience in this industry. And I'll hand it over to my colleague Prateek, who will talk a little bit more about, what we do, and, then have a discussion with Vivek on his experience and, how this industry is shaping up.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thanks, Sasha, for the introduction. I'm Prateek. I'm a part of ProVokil, and I have been working with ProVokil the last 5 years. At ProVokil, essentially, we have built tools around data and workflow automation. So one of the systems that we give out, the legal operations management team, is specifically for the BFSI sector. And we work very closely with a lot of NBFCs. We work with banks, we work with asset reconstruction companies, and a lot of key players in the financial services industry. Right? So today I'm joined by Mr. Vivek Guleria. Mr. Vivek Guleria has a vast experience working with a lot of NBFCs. Just 1 second. So Mr. Guleria has worked with Reliance General Insurance previously. He's worked with IndusInd Bank, and right now he's working with Aditya Birla Capital and leading their collections legal nationally. Right. So thank you again for joining, Mr. Guleria, and thank you so much for taking out the time. So essentially I want to discuss today is I want to start with asking you that for some of the viewers who are here today evening is on the basis of collection, right? So could you help us explain the process of collection? What sort of stakeholders are there in a collections team, right? And just help us explain what the lending part of the collections system would look like.
So good evening, Prateek. Thank you so very much for having me here. So as we know that we are a growing economy, and the growth of the economy is depending on how much liquidity comes into the market. And the basic reason for everything and for the growth would be a liquid market, and the liquid market will only happen when people will have funds. So no one will have funds, and hence we have lending. Lending is one business which is very ancient in nature, and it has been there from a very long time. We have seen a tremendous growth in lending. The stats were told us how the lending has increased in India and what amount of lending it is right now. And we are in a scope of a developing economy where the lending will substantially increase more because the consumption has increased a lot.
Right.
10 years ago, we never thought of having so many things, so many developed housing societies and everything else.
Right.
So lending has increased everywhere. The banks are into lending, all organizations, public as well as private organizations, and it has given us a very good scope in which people are lending. Basically, lending happens into two products. One is a secured product and the other one is an unsecured product.
Right.
A secured product is a product in which for the amount lended, we have a security which is backed down by a security, and the biggest example of could be of housing loans. We can see the affordable housing segment. If we are following it up with our economy, the affordable housing segment and the government of India is also very much determining in pushing up this sector, that is affordable housing, in which there are many lucrative things that are provided by the government of India,
Right.
in which all organizations have been lending. And so lending here in secured products is backed by a security, whereas in unsecured products, it is basically there is no security for the product, but for the amount lended. But yes, it is usually dispersed basis the credit history of a person and his income.
Right. If you can also, help us understand the process of collection, right? What do you do? What a collections personnel or a team member of yours would do on a daily basis?
So when we talk about lending, when we are talking about lending, basically lending will successfully happen only when the amount disbursed is also recovered back.
Correct.
Right. So there will be instances, and maximum of the cases, the customers or the retail, it is retail or it is MSME or any other corporate exposures, the customers will themselves pay, but there would still be a process revolving around of them, and that process which caters to your non-delinquent as well as delinquent customers is called as collections.
Right.
Right. There are multiple stakeholders which are involved, which are related with collections, because everything will depend upon collection and how is the money recovered back. We will have the business as a stakeholder. It will be the business the foremost stakeholder would be business, because the business success will entirely depend upon how the portfolio is after dispersal, how the portfolio is working, and that will all based upon collections.
Right.
Right. So in collections, if we talk about a process, the day-to-day activity of a collection process, it will start on the day of the presentation of an EMI. Right. As we understand that whenever we are talking about collections and when you're talking about loans, we always come around a very small phrase which is called as EMI, which is equated monthly installment, and that becomes the basis of everything which relates to collection.
Right.
There would be whenever EMI is presented in a bank on any particular day, maximum of it will get cleared, but there would be some percentage of it which will not get cleared or which will not be honored.
Correct.
Right. When they come after dishonoring of those, when they come back, they will fall into different categories which can be divided into organizations basis their own options. That could be a DPD counter or that could be a monthly bucketing system. The collection process for all buckets and all DPDs will be different for all organizations.
Right.
There won't be a single process, or there won't be any process for one. If we talk about how it is distributed and everything, so there are all collection processes are divided into two parts. One which would be soft collections, and other which would be a bit of hard collections. They are
Right.
usually termed as soft and hard collections.
So are these like
Soft
generic terms
collection,
used across the industry?
pardon me?
Are these generic terms used across the industry, or these are specific?
Yes, they are generic terms, and every organization can have their own term for it.
Got it.
If I have to distinguish it more, then soft collections would mean collection in which a customer is in very early stage of delinquency and he has not reached a stage of NPA.
Right.
NPA is a very local term and everyone understands about NPA, and there
Right.
are different things about, but a very simple and very easy process to understand NPA is once a case has not paid his dues for 90 days from the day it was due, it has to be termed as an NPA. This is what the RBI says. Right? So we will have this thing, we will have the process, divide the collection process divided into soft collections and hard collections. And in soft collections and in hard collections, there would be different practices that would be followed. Like every organization, it would be generic again, that every organization will have a front end, which will usually cater to customers who have defaulted for the very first time in their lifespan. So this kind of collection is done by a call center or by people contacting the customer and are trying to understand the reason why it has defaulted.
Right. So sending of notices is through soft collection, or does that cater to hard collections?
They are never a single notice which is sent to a customer. There are multiple and varied notice which goes to the customer, and depends. Again, we have discussed it earlier also, that it all depends upon the DPD or the bucketing of the customer, how the customer is there.
Right.
As of now, and as per my understanding, a customer retail product customer who is delinquent or anything will never receive a single the same notice twice.
Correct.
If he moves on in delinquency, the notice format will change for him every time.
Right.
Right. So till the time the customer is in soft buckets, he will always receive a notice, and which would be informative and which would only try to persuade him to pay off. And they will usually tell him the consequences if he is not paying on time.
So does that also differ? Like for some companies, they use a collections agency. Some would maybe have this in-house. I mean, does that differ from NBFC to NBFC, or is it?
Yeah, that is usually an organization call, how they will like to do it, because but usually automation has brought in a lot here, because now it is a very tedious process when we talk about sending a notice, and it won't be a single customer or a single person to whom a notice to be sent.
Right. Right.
There would be thousands of customers to whom a notice has to be has to go. And to 1,000 customers, there would be 3 or 4 different formats which a customer has, which every different customer has to receive. Right. So making those notices basis their qualifications or basis whatever the organization policies are, is a very tedious job, and that is why people are going in for automation. And we are into automation. We need people who send out notices, who are capable enough of sending different notices to different person, and after that also they are also capable of us providing our service in which we are able to track what happened to the notice. Did it ultimately reach the customer or it didn't reach the customers?
Right. So I understand. So now we're moving to the digitization part of things, right? So I mean, it brings me to my next question, right? So a lot of companies, I mean, before the pandemic happened, right? So they weren't keen enough to move towards digitization, right? Now we're seeing a breakneck pace. Companies are moving to digitization. So my question was, I mean, how has the pandemic affected the industry per se, right? If you can give us a few pointers of where we are right now and where we might be in the coming future because of COVID-19.
The pandemic has given one basic thing to every organization, which it has made very clear to that you don't have to come physically to work.
Right.
You can work from home. That would be the first pointer which everyone has now.
Correct.
The second thing which everyone now also knows is that to do efficient work and to keep the business continuity going,
Right.
they have to get themselves digitized.
Right.
Right. This would be, there are two things, because if you will see that every organization is going into digitization, and every employee of every organization will have some interactive app with him, which could be Teams or any other app. So it is there. The age is, and the current scenario, the next coming years, we will only have digitization, and more people will start opting to work from home.
So how is this? I mean, how has COVID-19 affected the industry, right? So if you can give us a few points on that.
There were a lot of speculation over there, but what are my experiences that the COVID had made not a very great impact on the industry.
Okay.
Yes, there had been issues at certain points. There were issues. There are issues, but the government was also, the state government and the central government has also been responsive enough to give us. The RBI was responsive enough to give us some moratoriums. They gave the moratorium. Then they brought in COVID-2. They brought in restructuring and payment holidays, in which they have given everyone a breather to cope up with the ongoing financial situation and to recover and come back with good on flying colors.
Right.
So yes, collection did get impacted because the lending also got impacted. There was no liquidity going into the market for personal loans or for some small, very loans. It got impacted, but yes, the delinquency didn't rise at it was, everyone was supposing that it would rise.
So, I mean, even I was, last year when we started the pandemic, so even I was reading, I was even watching on a lot of news channels that a lot of small NBFCs, right, would close down. There would be a lot of consolidation which was happening in the industry. That, I mean, that could be a possibility, right? And only the big players would survive. So how is that panned out? Do you see that happening now?
No, I don't. And if we are following up, we have not seen any small fintech also going down.
I understand.
Yeah, it was basically because whenever a new organization came up, they came up with a much more better idea. They were more digitized. Their data science, their data analyzing capability was more. So the portfolio has not reacted that bad. If we talk about the portfolios also, there were only some particular sectors which were very badly hit.
Right.
Not every customer was that badly hit. And if we talk about moratorium also, it was not that all customers opted for moratorium. There were customers who themselves abstained from moratorium.
Got it. So one more question, I had on this. So secured and unsecured probably has a lot of financial products, divided. So could you also tell us that, that these are the product categories which were really affected by the pandemic? Are there any products like this?
We had the basic impact came on to unsecured products.
Got it.
The secured products were are still going fine, but unsecured product and in sectors which were really dependent upon a daily income did got hurt. And a very basic example could be your personal loans.
Right.
Because they were given to an unorganized sector in which everyone was the income, which the basis of this loan eligibility was calculated on his daily income.
I understand.
And because of the pandemic, when everything stopped, the income also stopped. So those were things which got affected. But that time we had a breather of restructuring, and we had a breather of payment holidays also. This is the customer's capability.
Right.
And here also, we had a lot of data science which was being involved, and things. It was all based upon data science, how eligibility of customers was being calculated.
Right. Got it. So as you know, right, I'm part of the sales team. So as part of the sales team, my job also entails that speaking to customers, right? Customers who are industry veterans, understanding the issues, the challenges that they might face, right, in doing their job efficiently. So a lot of these conversations that I have with existing customers or potential customers, right, it usually pans out that we have now a dedicated product to solve their problems, right? So, my next question is sort of the challenges that you have been facing, or maybe the industry faces, right? So, if you can also tell us in detail some key challenges that are there in the industry, right, for collections legal.
Then we can have it when we're talking about challenges. Then we can have we can also divide the challenges in different categories. One would be And the one very basic challenge for everyone around is the contactability of the customers.
Right.
Usually in retail loans, what is happening, and if it is an unsecured retail loan, then what will happen? It will be based out. It will be given to a migrant population of a city,
Right.
which is very mobile in its own periphery. Also, they are very mobile. They will shift from one locality to another, and one locality to a different locality.
Right.
And basis upon their employment, they will move from one city to another city also.
Right.
Right. So the biggest problem in collections for retail products or for any product as of such would be a contactability of the customer. Right. So this is one thing, one basis in which again data science and systems are also helping a lot, because of there are too many tools available right now, like Sibyl, and there are also we can also trace a person basis upon the phone numbers, how the phone number was used and where it was used. So there are many things which systems are providing an answer to.
Right. You also
Second
mentioned
challenge,
in the beginning that there are multiple ways in which you reach out to a customer, right? It could be over phone calls, it could be over emails, right? So how do you like consolidate them together? Is that a challenge that you face?
yeah, what happens is that whenever a customer or whenever an account flows into collection, there are multiple things which starts getting applied to it. Right? Like, first of all, we discussed about notices, that a notice will go. Notice, what happened? What was the end result of the notice? Notice, was it served? Was it not served? Was it served on what address was it served? Becomes one thing, right? Then there are call centers also, or there are people, there would be employees who will call upon the customer and try to convince him, try to know why the income has, why the EMI has bounced and something like that. So all of these things come, but they are stored in different places.
Right.
Consolidation of all this information is a major challenge for us, because as of now there is no one system which provides us this information, and it now the time, as the collection and as everything is going on, now it is time that it should come out through one system only. No doubt every organization has what I have seen, what I have observed is that every organization is working to give it a very good structure.
Right.
But we need a proper information collation here, in which we are able to trace out, was the notice sent in, was it sent on time? Yes, it was sent on time.
Right.
Was it received? Yes or no? What was the result of the phone call? How many times the call was made? What was the response to the first call? What was the response to the second call?
Right.
All of this information is there, but to consolidate them is a challenge.
Right. So I remember earlier, sorry, please go on.
Yeah, now continue, please.
So, I mean, before the call began, you were also mentioning that difficulty with speaking to lawyers, right? Your empaneled lawyers. If you can also help us, take us through that, what sort of problems that you faced today?
Yeah. So what happens is, then we were only, now what we were discussing was about soft collections, but when we go down into some hard collections, or we term as when a legal tool has been initiated against the customer, what happens then? Now, as the law is developing and everything else is getting place, the final execution of a case or anything of a case will happen at the local jurisdiction only. So the business branch would be at one place. We call it is Mumbai. But the customer is located somewhere in Kalyan or somewhere in Thane or somewhere else in nearby. And all of these places have different courts.
Right.
So ultimately the filing will happen, and the filing will go down to these courts. And over these courts, we will not have one advocate or one professional who will go to every court and do the same work so diligently, though there are people who do it very efficiently, but yet we have challenges on that also. So we will have different service, different councils, different associates who will provide us these services all the time, and all those councils, all those intellectuals will not have only one person as a client. They will have multiple guys also there. So when we can have good result in all our court cases, if we get a proper update of every case.
Right.
And getting it streamlined from e-courts or from other sites is a very lengthy of a job which cannot be done. So again, here solution comes through a provider who provides us all this information on a click.
Correct. So I remember when I joined ProVokil, this was in 2016. I joined, so ProVokil was back then was only integrated to Supreme Court website. And I was surprised that a lot of courts in Delhi, haven't been digitized, right? So if let's say a matter had 10 orders, right, you would only probably find one order online. Rest you'd have to depend on your local council to get that for you. Right. So I understand problem that, so this is one of the problems, key areas where ProVokil excels, right? And this statement has been discussed many times by ProVokil sales team, right, with customers. So, which moves on to my next question is essentially, so if you look for, I'm sure you've worked on multiple systems in your career, right? You've maybe implemented a few of them in your career before. So I wanted to know, what is the sort of features that you look for when you look for a system for collections legal? If you can help us, help the viewers, through that.
So whenever yes, that's correct. I've worked with multiple systems, multiple service providers who provide us the same thing. What would if I have to get in a new service provider, what would I look for? Would be number one. That would be how the system gets, what is the ease of use of the system? How the system is the system dynamic? Is the system capable enough of resolving all my queries at any point of time?
Right.
We are talking about collections, or we are talking about the legal part of the collections,
right.
And both of these things are very dynamic in nature. Right. So when we are talking about these two things, first of all, the best thing which I would like to have a system would be ease of use.
Right.
Secondly, the system should be so open, so flexible that whatever I want at any particular point of time, I should be available to get it. Right. Third thing, which is one of the most important thing for any system to provide, is the capability to integrate itself with the core system of different organizations. If you talk about organizations also, there are many systems which are used here. Right. So this is what is required from every system. The system, what I require from a system is that I want an answer for my query, or I want a report at a particular point of time at a particular date. Right. So the TAT around it should not be that great.
So, we've also seen plenty of times that even if a system has been deployed, right, you're right, talking about the integration part, it doesn't talk to other systems, right? So people still have to manually enter a lot of data to take out reports. So I completely agree with you when you talk about API integration, right? But a lot of companies today, again, run on legacy systems, right? Which, you can't do an API integration with any of those, right? So companies, again, have to rely on a lot of Excel work, Excel upload, bulk uploads of Excel, right? So to get this data on the new system, right? So this is one of the things that we've also seen plenty of times when we deploy ProVokil or speak to a similar vendor who does this across companies. I would also want to talk about here, we had discussed during one of our meetings long back, right, where you had also mentioned that for any key stake borrower, right, there are also, would want to know whenever they are sued in any court in India, right, so that you can protect your investment, right? So the proactive alert part that we were talking about long back. So if you can also tell us a little about that, how does that help you?
Yeah, now if we see, people who are into this industry and into retail lending, every borrower will not have only one litigation, one financial exposure. Especially in the business and the small businesses, or the SME part, or something like all these organizations, they will not have one financial exposure, but they will have multiple financial exposures. Right. Some exposures would be secured, some would be unsecured.
Right.
You being on both sides, you can be on the both sides. You can be on the secured side, you can be on the unsecured side. Right. But if the litigation is filed and you are not aware of that litigation, you may lose your rights. Right. So whenever one of our party or one of some of our customers go into litigation or something like that, it is better that you be there into that litigation. Should be the first one or the second one to be there, to be participate in that litigation, so that you are able to protect your interests.
Right.
Right. So that is where we again require anything, because managing or just monitoring all courts in India is not possible at all. Right. So we again need technology here, in which technology tells me, yes, you might have a borrower called this, and there is a case filed against him in this case. Right. So this is all dependent upon technology to ensure that the financier's right or the rights of the financier are secured.
Right.
So we need technology here. We need technology to solve this. We need technology to do everything. So it is all technology driven now.
So when you spoke about ease of use at the beginning of the question, right? I think I can also correlate this to ease of adoption, right? So I think adoption is one of the key things you look for when you want to implement a system, right? So I want to ask you that, because you've worked on systems, right? So how do you make sure that there is enough adoption for a system for it to be successfully deployed? If you can also take us through that.
There are different whenever a system is taken and is brought into an organization, it would be used from the top management to the bottommost of the line.
Right.
From the executive level to the chief to the MD, everyone is going to use the same system, right?
Right.
So to have anything implemented very successfully there, first of all, the acceptance, there should be all the key stakeholders should be involved into it. What is expected of the system should be known to everyone, and what should be the end result of deploying a system should also be known to everyone. Right. These are two things which need to be done prior to getting any system into the organization.
Right.
After that, the system should be such that it is very interactive with an executive and with someone who's at the bottom of the line, and the system is same, and in the similar manner it is interactive with the person who is just there to see a report. From the data flowing into the system to the report generation of the system, it should be very easy to use. That was the ease of use here, and ease of use would only happen when it is integrated properly and it is clear to everyone, all the key holders like the information technology department, the business side, the finance side, the treasury side. Everyone will come to know, and they know that why the system has been deployed. The system, the service provider of the system knows what is expected out of him, and the organization knows what do they require from the system, right? If there is a disconnect anywhere in between, then the deployment of a system will not lead you to anything. It will only lead to wastage of time.
Right. So there's one challenge, right? So I've deployed close to, I think, about 50 companies in the last 2 years, personally, right? So I've also witnessed a lot of banks or big companies, right? So they also have multiple zones or multiple regions, right, where litigation is handled. The problem that they have been facing is firstly, data is scattered. Plus, it is not in one single format, right? So when you want to deploy a system, you would want to get everybody on board into a single format, right? That is the key challenge that they also face. Have you seen that? I mean, personally, or do you have anything?
Yeah, I have noticed it in many. I have noticed it in the market that there were not a uniform system that was being adopted by everyone. But gradually, that thing is also going out, and people are trying to use one system for doing everything. Because now we have specialized systems which provide you account management and everything. Yes, they are known by different names, but yes, we have systems, and all organizations should either move or have moved into one system which is uniform, and they try to capture every detail in that one system only. From from a loan onboarding to loan NOC issuance, everything is done on the same system. And if it is not, that should be there, because if otherwise consolidating data for anything, for collections, for legals, for any other purpose also becomes a big challenge, because you are not able to consolidate so much of information together, and you are not able to get out the results that you intend to get.
Right. I think another aspect here for a system is again, personal experience. is whenever we speak to a company, most of the companies or law department that we speak to are buying a system for the first time, right? So firstly, the first thing is they don't know who to speak to internally, right, to get the system implemented. So how do you like maneuver internally to make sure system is bought and then deployed?
What I will say is that every organization have different functions according to which
Right.
they work in. They have procurement teams, they have information team, they have business teams, they have analysis team, they have MIS teams. So whenever a system is intended to be bought, the
Mhm.
basic intention for the system is to be noted down.
Right.
What is the intention?
Right.
And after that, who all would be the stakeholders of the for doing so
Right.
is to be jotted down. And then there should be a joint collaboration between all of them, and everything, all the expectations
Right.
should be given here or there, and then it should be done. Then only we should go and meet a service provider who is ready to provide us with these services.
Right.
More the dynamic service provider, more better it is. My experience will personally say this: more dynamic the system, the more better it is, because then you have an end-to-end result, and you should have people who are ready to provide you services or provide you answers within a very limited period of time.
Right. Right.
Otherwise, it could go for ages.
So I've also seen, I mean, when companies again speak to vendors, they not only speak to one vendor, but they speak to 2 or 3 vendors, right? To get the best product possible. So how do you also like make sure that you're choosing the right vendor? Do you depend on the configurability or like how do you do that?
We do talk to many people, but what would I would always prefer is who is ready to provide me service on time and who is providing me end-to-end service, and what kind of dynamism does he have in modifying his system or adapting his system to my systems. Number
Right.
one, modifying his system to my requirements,
Right.
right? Because we are talking about a very dynamic thing right here, which changes with time, which changes with
Right.
events, which changes with things.
Right.
If I can give you an example, we could have 1,000 people there, we could have 10,000 people there, and out of these 10,000 people, only 200 people are there who are into the business of selling saris. So my system should be so much dynamic that whenever it is proactive in nature, and it is able to give me a proactive report of things also,
Right.
based upon the market feedback which is coming from the generic.
So you could also make sure that they're doing the job by, making sure they're sticking to the SLAs, formalizing agreements, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is one thing which takes a lot of time. But if everyone is working on a very good scale and there is a uniformity in operations, uniformity in everyone's approach, then it becomes a very easy job to do.
So I'd like to
And
mention
then-
one thing. So I spoke about maneuvering internally, right, to get a system implemented. So I think that firstly, department needs to understand the scope of work that needs to be done, right? Maybe have a mandate on the relevant approvals and a budget for it, right? Right. I hope you agree with me.
Yeah. Everything in an organization is always budgeted, right?
Right.
And according to those budgets, only expenses to be made.
Right. I understand.
So it has to be configured. That is why I mentioned that the finance comes in, the treasury comes in, everyone comes in.
Right.
When we talk about a system or any procurement for an organization, that is towards the technology side or any which side,
Right.
will always depend upon all these things, and they have to be on a single plane to have this thing getting very successfully implemented and done.
I understand. So to, reiterate I think this is a very crucial aspect because, firstly, people don't know what features to look for and how should they maneuver internally. So I'll just reiterate whatever we discussed. So I think the biggest point here is ease of use, right? Customizability is another key factor here. Setting up a mandate, a feature document is necessary to get a system implemented, and having a right budget for it, right?
Since whenever we are about to deploy a system, we should test it earlier
Mhm.
with a very small information set, so that we are able to understand all pros and cons of it, and we are able to
Right.
understand all kind of manifestations of it. and what new can be deployed into it. Because whenever you deploy something, you will always think that there is scope for one thing more.
I
And
think
which
there's a
has
key
been a
feature
very
which I think would also be important is generation of specific types of documents. For instance, notices, right?
Yeah.
Sending of notices through a digital means, maybe through WhatsApp, maybe through email, or maybe through SMS. I think that's another key feature that could be crucial.
Yes.
Yes. I think we will have the poll now. There's a small poll that we'd like to do right now. If we can have that up. Yeah. So we'll wait for people to respond to the poll. So in the meantime, we can just move to the Q&A, and we'll have that up on the screen. So I have a question from one of the listeners here. So he's asking, are legal notices through WhatsApp going to be a thing now? Would you like to take that up, sir?
Yeah. Legal notices through WhatsApp would be something which we can talk about. Only if we meet about the requirements, and we have a service provider who provides us all these things, because it has to be system driven anyways. Yes, going forward, WhatsApp would be the thing in question, and not even WhatsApp. We can talk about Telegram on anything else of the world.
So what about that? I mean, if let's say if I send a notice to somebody and if the blue tick does not show up, is that still considered that the notice is sent?
No. In law, the basic criteria in law is always the service of the service or the deliverability of the notice would say, right? So it is not only that someone has got it, it would also mean that he knows it, what was the content of it.
Right.
That is why it was mandated earlier that if there is a blue tick, it would be deemed as service. When it is a blue tick in WhatsApp, that would mean that the customer had read it.
Okay.
And that was the basis of it.
Right.
So in law, only sending something is not the end point. It is,
right.
It should be there that he also knows what was there in it.
Right.
So
I mean, even if let's say you get a double tick, right? That means that the chat or the document is still sent.
It is sent, but not read.
Okay. So you have to wait for him to read it. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. I have another question here from one of the members here. They're asking, I would like to know what is the future of private collection agencies and what are the challenges that they could face?
Now, as the things are developing, the future of everything is very bright. I will not say that don't find any challenge for anyone here. But yes, everyone has to go into the new mode of working, and that the new normal is digitization.
Right.
They have to they have to go from physical contacts. They have come down to something in which they are meeting the customer through calls, through voice calls, video calls, something like that. Things have to change, but there is no dearth of opportunity for anyone.
Right. There's another question. What happens to such collections where the default amount is small, right? Let's say 1,000, 2,000, and the customer does not respond, right? What happens in such cases? What do you do?
It is purely a call. If we want to, the last penny, even a single rupee, if it is payable by the customer, we have all the rights to recover it back.
Right.
Right. Because if I give it an example, in Hindi we would say "बूंद बूंद से घड़ा भरता है,"
Right.
right? And if we talk about 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees, and we talk about 1 lakh of a customer, then you
Right.
see where the amount goes.
Okay.
So you cannot forego all the amounts. Yes, you do certain things to recover the maximum out of it, which could be through the alternative way of dispute resolution. And here also technology is playing a good role.
So there's a very interesting question. In the process of collection, does privacy get affected somewhere?
Yes, it can, but
Okay.
no, the policy, the modes which the RBI is mandated and all the governing judicial bodies have
Okay.
also said, if we follow and if we adhere to them, no.
Right.
But yes, if we cross the brink line, the very thin line which is there, it can.
Right. Got it. I'll just take, I think, a couple of more questions here. Okay, so here's one question. In case a personal loan customer denies to repay from the due date of loan repayment and answers to repay the loan in court, we can process legally, right?
Yeah, that's a pure collection thing,
Yeah.
and this is the pure challenge that everyone faces.
This is the
You
hard
have a
collection
challenge
we're
there.
talking about, right?
It would be short collection or it would be hard collection, whatever collection it may be. But this is the problem which everyone faces, the collection, that we will have certain amount of customers who will say, do whatever you feel like doing, do it in court.
Right.
Right. So this is again a big challenge which everyone faces. Yes, we can recover it in court. And they
I
are
think
very
there's-
expeditious manners to recover things in court also.
Right. Okay, there's one more question here. I think this might be interesting. So, how will the overall costing of collection will be affected after the complete adoption of automation?
It will go down.
Yeah.
It will definitely, and it will not definitely, it will substantially go down.
Right, right, right.
That all the wastages, if we talk about the scientific also, if we talk about management also, all the
Right.
wastages which are there, the wastages will go off,
Right.
which will save time and energy, and which will let all the principles of scientific management flow in,
Right.
and it will streamline. So it would never be, the cost will always go down.
Right. Okay, I think there are more questions. We will try to respond to everything over email. If we can have the poll results also, if you can, somebody can pull that up on the screen. Yeah, so we asked a question. Can you see that, Mr. Guleria?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we asked, how will the collections process be like by 2025? So about majority of the people believe that it will be semi-driven by technology. So not everybody agrees, right? That will be fully automated. Yeah.
So we are very close. It would be,
Yeah.
the polls will change over a period of time. I'm very much confident on that.
Right.
Because it is only data science which will help you enable to make this the collection as a process more effective and more very precise.
Right.
So that we are able to deploy everyone, if everyone is observing or not observing. What I see throughout, that the strength of the collection people in every organization is reducing.
Right.
It is more because things are going into this, and
Automation.
more of data science, analysis, artificial intelligence is coming into play.
Right. Right.
So, yeah. Hey.
Okay, I think there's one more question which is asked by.
Can you please? I forgot to mention it yet. Please move this slide. Go to the previous slide.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. There was one more question, huh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We have one more question. Yeah. You want to take that up?
Yeah, please. No, you just please pay it out.
Yeah. So there's a question. Would there be a reduction in job opportunities if collection legal processes are automated by technology?
No.
I mean, since most people believe that it will be semi-automated, I'm sure
If it is fully automated also, then also the answer is no.
I understand. Yeah. So I think thanks for joining, Mr. Guleria.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much
very
for
much.
taking the time. So after the webinar, we will also send like a survey form or a feedback form to everyone who has joined us today. We really request you to fill it up so that we can schedule more calls like this. We will make sure to take your feedback in stride, even if it's, this is our first webinar that we're hosting. Yeah. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, Pratik.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Don't show my mail ID.